Now time for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time.
Old-fashioned Q&A, MMA.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing it a little early today, my friends. It's a big day. Alex's birthday, Walter's birthday, the Champion Studio, the freaking Champion Studio. Is he the biggest star as far as champions right now in the sport? Champions. Biggest star? Make a case. Number one pound for pound? Make a case. Whatever case you make, say his name correctly. It's Israel Adesanya. That's the name. Thank you very much, Mike Heck. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to do it a little early here. We'll do it until Tim is ready to come. We'll have Tim on in studio for about 30 minutes, and then we'll go like an hour. With it. I mean, we're going to go no holds barred. And I will make a case right now. He's one of the more interesting interviews in the sport. Tells it like it is, unfiltered, unguarded, authentic, unapologetic. It's great. All right, let's answer some questions. And again, still to come, Izzy in studio, Tim Simpson in studio, GC as well. Do we have breaking news? Some breaking news earlier today, by the way. Bellator announcing a huge card for April 15th. San Jose, SAP Center. AJ McKee going up against Patricia Pitbull in the rematch of the 145-pound title fight that happened last July. They will rematch. They will run it back. And this time, AJ McKee, of course, is the champion because he beat him. That's going to be on the card. Also on the card, Corey Anderson versus Vadim Nemkov, the 205-pound champion, in the light heavyweight World Grand Prix finale. You can make a very strong case. These are the two best fights that Bellator could put on right now. Right now, the two most interesting fights that Bellator could put on are these two fights. And they're putting them on the same night. I like it. On Showtime, Bellator 277, April 15th, San Jose, SAP Center. What I don't like about it is first night of Passover. That's a tough night for my people. First Seder. It's not a lot of TV watching, although it is 10 p.m. Eastern. We're probably done by then. Main card starts at 10 p.m. But, you know, for the West Coast crowd, tough. That's the only thing I don't like. Also on the card, as announced here in the press release, Tim Johnson, Tyrell Fortune. Was there any other fights? No. So, man, there were some other fights. Kyle Crutchmer. Wow. GC's favorite fighter. Also on the card against Michael Lombardo. Shane Keefe against Tyson Miller. Cass Bell against Gaston Bolanos. Bellator returns this Saturday with the Naaman Gracie versus Logan Storley 2 fight. All right, let's answer some questions. Do we have any breaking news music, Frank? El Cubano is back on top. He is first. Hola, Ariel. After UFC 271, I think we have more clarity in the middleweight division. If I were to play matchmaker today in the middleweight division, this is how I would proceed with the top 10. Adesanya versus Cannonier, agree. Whittaker, Vettori, interesting. Strickland, Costa, don't hate it. Brunson, Hermanson, don't hate it. Till Hall, love it. Do you agree with the matchups, and which ones would you change, if any? Viva Helwani, much respect. El Cubano leading us off. I don't hate it. I guess it all depends on how long Robert Whittaker is going to take off, right? If he takes off for a very long time, then maybe you have to do Strickland Vettori. But some variation of Whittaker Vettori, Strickland Vettori, Whittaker Costa, Strickland Costa, I love. The rest I love. Brunson Hermanson, Till Hall, I love. Nothing more I could say. I love it. Whoops. Okay. Newman, hello, Ariel. With two big welterweight fights coming up, it got me thinking, assuming Colby and Chimaev both win, do you think they will be matched up next while Usman fights Edwards in the summer? Colby probably won't get another title shot yet, and Dana has said Edwards is next for Usman. Yeah, it's possible. Although you're playing with fire, because what if Usman beats Leon Edwards and Colby beats Khamzat? Now all of a sudden you just killed off the number one contender in Edwards, of course, he loses, and then you killed off Khamzat. So dicey. Also, if Khamzat does beat Burns, then Colby, then Usman for the title, then goes up and takes out Izzy, does he become the GOAT? I don't know. Like, I mean, like, did you see how many ifs you just put out there? If he beats Burns, if he beats Colby, if he beats Usman, and then goes up and takes on Izzy. I mean, that's like 8 ifs. Pecan pie up in this. You wrote that there were talks of Max Holloway versus Josh Emmett. Yes, I wrote that yesterday as the main event for March 26. Was this the rabbit that you previously alluded to? Yes. Also, congrats to you and the team on 6 months since the MMA Hour return, August 16th, 2021. Wow. It has been 6 months. Congrats to us. Shout out to GC. He has been a great addition to this relaunch. How about that? GC, you got a shout out.
Appreciate it.
It was the rabbit, and I see someone here named Jake saying rabbit to me means super unexpected. I think it would be juicier than a Holloway early return. Excuse me, the featherweight title fight would be happening 2 weeks later. Holloway coming back before the title fight against the very tough, very game Josh Emmett is a rabbit. You're telling me the people of Columbus who bought tickets for Rakic versus Blachowicz and now got Blades versus Dawkins wouldn't celebrate that rabbit? Arguably one of the most popular fighters in the sport. Not number one, but he's in that discussion for maybe top 10. Max Blessed Holloway, it is what it is himself, going up against the very tough Josh Emmett. That's a rabbit. Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition. Would love to see it happen, but it didn't come to fruition. Now it's Dawkins versus Blades. Carmine. Hey, Ariel, after all you've done for MMA fans, I think it's time you get a name for your followers. Hulk Hogan had the Hulkamaniacs, Justin Bieber had the Beliebers, and now Ariel has the Helwani. Not bad. There it is for your next t-shirt. I mean, we used to have the Helwannabes back in the day, the Helwanabe Nation. We've got the Nose World Order. Online, they had another one, the Nose Pack, something like that. None of them have stuck. Helwanabe was a good one, but there's sort of a negative connotation to that. Helwarmy? Not sure. Appreciate the effort. Not sure. Hugo knows. Ariel, with the release of WWE 2K22, can we get the cover athlete, the great Rey Mysterio? It's Rey Mysterio on the show. He's my wrestling goat and the greatest high flyer. Where does he stand on your Mount Rushmore? Also, could you list your favorite Rey attires? Geez, mine in no particular order. Halloween Havoc, tremendous. That was the one with Eddie Guerrero, right? SummerSlam, Silver Surfer, tremendous. Hog Wild, Spider-Man, WrestleMania 25, Joker. Did he ever dress up as the one from Suicide Squad? Harley Quinn? You guys familiar with that movie? It's great. WrestleMania 27, Captain America. I don't know it that, I don't know the attire that well. Legend. Actually interviewed him once before. Big time MMA fan. I interviewed him on the anniversary of that Halloween Havoc match against Eddie Guerrero, the late great Latino Heat. When I was sitting in the front row, SmackDown, Madison Square Garden in September with my boys, both he and his son Dominic came up to us and gave us the fist pump. It was amazing. Said he was a fan. I mean, it was awesome. So, raised the man. I try to be careful with the wrestling interviews because people get so uptight about those. So like we have Booker on Monday because he was at UFC 271. It's tough to have just. He's a big MMA fan, so he would qualify. So maybe we will have him. I didn't know he was on the cover. That's pretty cool. Nico, ça va, Ariel? Oui, ça va. How do you think Conor's UFC career would have played out post 205 if the Floyd fight never materialized? That's one of the great sliding doors what ifs, because it does feel like there was a shift, right? That changed everything. I mean, the meteoric rise up until 205, you beat Eddie Alvarez, biggest stage, first event, Madison Square Garden, double champ, history being made. And I'll never forget being at that thing that we did in Manchester. We did like an interview thing. Remember the pay-per-view thing? And I was there to talk, that was his first interview since the fight. It was in January. The Eddie fight was in November. I was there to talk about Eddie. I was there to talk about history, what's next, this and that. And I remember him being so adamant about talking about the Floyd fight. And at that point, we all thought the Floyd fight was just a pipe dream. We all thought it was just like a gag. And I remember leaving that event, which, by the way, happened 5 years ago, which blows my mind. Maymac happened 5 years ago this summer. Crazy. I remember leaving that event and thinking, like, this guy actually really wants to fight Floyd and really is confident that this fight is going to happen. That's when I started to believe a little more that it was going to happen, that it was a real thing, not just, a bunch of trolling. So, yeah, it would be great to know. What if he sticks around and defends the 155 title in August against, oh God, who I don't even remember who was like a top contender then, but, a Tony Ferguson or something. I don't know. It would be interesting. Maybe the same thing happens. Good morning from Idaho, from Israel. I wanted to get your thoughts on the situation that happened with Rogan/ESPN last Saturday. Oh my. Dana was pretty adamant that it was simply Joe Rogan didn't want to work. But to me, it sounded more like ESPN told Dana that Rogan couldn't do the show due to the recent controversy. Isn't the UFC in charge of the broadcast? So I was surprised ESPN can make this call, but I do remember they pulled the plug on one of the UFC pay-per-views early in the pandemic as well. Thank you as always. All right. So as I said, I heard on Wednesday that he wasn't going to be a part of the broadcast, and then I heard that Michael Bisping was going to be a part of it. Now, what I was initially told was this was a collective decision and that Disney, which owns ESPN, preferred that he would not be a part of it because of all the controversy surrounding his podcast and things that he has said on his podcast. And then on Friday, they come out, once the weigh-ins happen and he wasn't on the stage, they come out with the statement that he had a scheduling conflict. Wasn't true, never was true. And, I don't know why anyone would have believed that. Luckily, Dana White came out on Saturday and refuted that, actually called it BS, which again, I think should be made into not made into a bigger story, but is actually quite fascinating that he called his own PR team's story BS. I mean, that's just wild. Do you not realize how unique that is? Very unique. And then he says this was 100% Rogan's decision. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it was Rogan's decision. Now, was it one of those things where it's like, hey, NFL coach X, we want to fire you, but we're going to tell the public that we parted ways mutually or that you asked to leave. So we're going to save face. That's what this feels like to me. Because yes, the UFC does have a say in the broadcast. They do produce the shows themselves, but this is ESPN. They have a say as well. If there's someone that they truly don't like or that is offensive or bothers, whatever, that person's not going to be on the broadcast. I can assure you. It's more collective in that regard. Once it comes down to like the actual, producing of the fights, yeah, it's the ESPN, it's ESPN network, but it's the UFC production team that puts it together, right? So I'm sure this was a collective discussion. I'm sure it was a collective decision. And all that I keep hearing is that he'll be back in March. That's the goal. That's the plan. But right now, in the midst of this firestorm, if you will, the network preferred that he would not be on. And this idea that he asked out is not believable to me because, number one, that's his safe space. Joe Rogan, as you can tell, is beloved in the world of MMA and the world of UFC. In Houston, he probably would have got a huge reaction, a positive one. This is the thing that he loves doing. Like this is his weekend getaway once every 4 weeks. And if there's one thing we know about Dana, when it comes to things like this, he doesn't back down, he doubles down. And so do you think that he would have been cool with Joe Rogan saying like, nah, I'm just going to sit this one out? Why? The controversy didn't have anything to do with UFC, and I think the UFC wants to prove that, hey, we're not going to bow down, we're not going to succumb, this and that. Based on the way he worded his response, he didn't sit there and say, I thought that was interesting too. I back this guy, I support him, he's been with us, he's the man, he's a legend. Like the stuff that Izzy said, essentially, to me felt like a guy who didn't want to go also against his partners who are paying him a hell of a lot of money. Tough spot, because I'm sure he wanted to say that. Tough spot. So the story I am choosing to believe based on my conversations, again, not me making up stuff, not me putting out stuff, because I've told you already how I feel about this whole thing. Look, there has to be repercussions for things that you said. I don't care if it happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. When you say things that are racist, there's going to be repercussions. That's not cancel culture. That's accountability. So whatever happens, happens. Now, I'm not in favor of like the internet mob and all this stuff where people are trying to take people down and dig up all your, like, whatever. The point is, what I heard was the network wanted to take a timeout. And so we'll see what happens come March. But scheduling conflict wasn't true. And I don't know why they put that out. Just tell the truth. And I don't necessarily believe that it was him who said he wanted it out. End of the day, don't forget, this is ESPN. This is the worldwide leader. This is Disney. You know, they have a say. It's their decision, part of the agreement, to let the UFC produce these events. Right? And they pay for that. But again, they're the ones paying. So the one who is paying usually has, you know, a say. And to this man's point, Israel, just remember the, you know, whole pandemic situation where they were told to stand down. But we'll see. I'm sure he's going to address it at some point. And again, I probably think that the story that we hear is sort of like the story that you hear when an NFL coach gets let go, NBA coach, like, hey, we mutually decided that it would be best, that type of thing. Not fired, but mutually. No, I'm not saying he's fired. I'm saying when the coaches get fired, they say, oh, you know, we mutually decide when we all know you got fired. So sometimes they craft it in a different way. Kareem. Hi, Ariel. Thoughts on Cristiano Ronaldo? And can you please give us a soy? And then someone says, I'm a Messi guy. I'm honestly neither. I'm an Alphonso Davies guy. I'm a Jonathan David guy. I'm a Team Canada guy. Qatar. Is that how you pronounce it? 2022? Here we come. The red and white. Dave from North Bay. Ariel, this is a question for GC. GC, what is your theoretical money line for Khamzat versus Kamaru? GC's not in right now. I'm sorry. Is he going to get Izzy? Oh, is he here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Zach. Good morning, Ariel. My question this week is, where does Robert Whittaker go now? I think it's clear him and Izzy are ahead of the division, but he's not getting another title shot right now. I agree. Is he just a gatekeeper for a few fights? I mean, there's still a market for him. But yeah, he's in that tough spot. Like Joseph Benavidez was in, Faber was in, Gustafsson was in. Tough spot. I saw Uncle Chael say he should go to a different division. Where's he going to go? 205? Too small. Where's he going to go? 170? He fought there before, but now I feel like he's too big. This week's handicap hot take for you is Jamal's Sweet Dreams Hill will become the light heavyweight champion in 2023. Wow. That is a hot take. Which event had the craziest ceremonial weigh-ins that you were at in terms of attendance and buzz? Oh my. Conor Khabib. Now, again, you're saying ceremonial, Riley. I'm taking that as in the era since 199 where they did the morning weigh-ins and then had the ceremonials after, where there wasn't as much intrigue in the person stepping on the scale. Like before 199, it was the person stepping on the scale, and then you wanted to know how they looked, how they, you know, not felt because you weren't touching them, but like, you know, what did their face look like? What did their body look like? Did they make weight? All that stuff. So post 199, I would say Conor Khabib. Conor Nate 2. Conor Nate 2 was a fun one. But Conor Khabib was probably the craziest one. I mean, freaking Drake was there, for God's sakes. And I don't believe for a second that Khabib didn't know who Drake was. Come on. Lewis, not Luis. See, I see it, and I want to say Louis or Luis, and he goes by Lewis. Lewis Gilmore, great guy. My man, Afternoon Ariel. Let me hit you with a Fat Joe quote. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Wow. Turning that into a question. What are some of the most noteworthy and transformative performances from fighters that elevated their entire standing on the roster? Truly groundbreaking, momentum-shifting stuff. Give me at least 3, and you can only pick one from the notorious. Much love. Glad to hear Mama H is on the mend. Oh, my God. TJ Dillashaw against Hannah Barral, Chris Weidman against Anderson Silva. Like the ones where I was like, holy moly, I am blown away. Conor's most impressive performance, in my opinion, was the Eddie Alvarez fight. Like, that's one of the best performances in a title fight that I've ever seen, especially from the quote-unquote challenger. I'll say that one. Man, there's so many. But those are the three that come to mind. There you go. Cody Rhodes leaving AEW from Israel, and rumors that Shane was let go from WWE. Does he go and buy AEW like he bought WCW? No, of course not. But let me tell you something. This Cody Rhodes story is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, this guy was a part, I know not a lot of wrestling fans out there, but just like, let me break it down for you like this. This guy was a part of a small group of people, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, part of a small group. Tony Khan, of course, you know, the owner, dad, Shad Khan, owner, Jacksonville Jaguars, Fulham, part of a small group that launches this organization in 2019. Small group, EVP, wife involved, Brandy Rhodes. Now he's leaving the organization, and all signs point to him returning to WWE, who he left 6 years ago to say he wanted to walk the wrestling world on his own, see what's out there, be a nomad, go to Japan, go to Ring of Honor. And now he's returning to WWE, to the competition that they were trying to go after when they started AEW. This is wild stuff. This is absolutely wild stuff. This is an executive, essentially, and I know he didn't own the company per se, and I know that that role got diminished, but leaving the house that he built to jump ship, to go to the, you know, the big bad establishment that were the ones that you were trying to take down, that's crazy. Leads me to think of two things. And again, I told you, like, I have no horse in this race. I watch AEW, I enjoy it. I watch WWE, I enjoy it. It's all great. Like, the wrestling business right now is just so fascinating, as I continue to say. But why? Like, why? I can't wait to hear why. I'd love to talk to him. Cody, if you're out there, I'd love to talk to you. Why would you make this move? What was it all for? When did it turn sour? Why would you leave? You have a TV show on Turner as well. And let me just say this, and this one is one where you could say I'm biased. I know the president of WWE quite well. His name is Nick Khan. I can't erase the fact that I worked with him for many years. He was my agent for many years. Never knew, never thought, never would have imagined he'd become the president of WWE, but he was the most powerful and influential person in sports media as far as agents are concerned. There was no one during his reign at the top with CAA who had more influence, more contacts, more connections, more power, all that stuff than him. He was the best, and that's why I wanted to sign with him. And he did great things for me. There's this narrative out there that Tony Khan is like the young, scrappy upstart, right? And of course, you build something, you have a, you have, even if you're owned by a billionaire, which the Khan family is, they are billionaires, you start a franchise from the ground up, right? An expansion franchise. Like, you're going to be viewed as young, scrappy, even if you're owned by a billionaire. And WWE is always going to be the evil empire, right? Of course. They've been around a gazillion years. These guys are 3 years old. But if you read a little bit about who Nick Khan is and what he has had to overcome to get to this point, that's the young, scrappy guy. And that's the guy who has the reputation of not taking any SHIT from anyone, of not liking to get, bullied. And I mean, he likes to punch back. I mean, he comes from the fight game. His first client, Manny Pacquiao, Freddie Roach. So this idea that, like, this dude is sitting at the top of a throne and is just going to let, missiles be thrown his way and not counter it. He's had to sit there, and a lot of it was their doing, and they've let a lot of people go and all that. But, like, at some point, that forbidden door was going to get open the other way. And this is one of the biggest coups that they could pull off, right? Because AEW didn't want to let Cody Rhodes go. Turner wouldn't want to let him go. He's a part of 2 of their shows, that Go Big show and the Roads to the Top or something like that. So, like, that's not a great look. And if they get him back, and all signs point to him coming back before WrestleMania, that's a huge W. Huge W. When AEW has been scoring some Ws, when you could say they got Bryan Danielson and CM Punk and all these dudes. Don't mistake his power and influence right now for weakness. This dude, Nick Khan, who I know very well, has been a scrappy fighter his whole life. He came from nothing. He was not the son of a rich dad. So he still has that mentality. And at some point I was waiting, okay, when's he going to punch back? Cody Rhodes. That's punching back. Interesting times. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Jezza, what's up, Ariel? Jezza Q, back again. But this week, I have a question from young Danny Q, 13 years old. Respect, Danny. Do Jorge and Colby shake hands after their fight? If so, why? If not, why? I say no. I think it's too personal. I really do think they hate each other. Legit. If we catch Colby again saying this was all for show, I mean, come on. At some point, Usman one, all right, I could sort of believe it. But this one feels like it's way too personal. Former friends, training partners. I mean, come on. Best MMA show there is. Shout out to GC, New York Rick, CA, wow, and Mysterious Frank. Shout out to Joe and Yoon as well. Kenny Roadhouse. Hey, Ariel. Curious to hear your thoughts on what's next for Rob. I'm not sure wins over Vittori, Strickland, Brunson, get Whittaker back in there with Izzy. I don't think so either. I don't think that there's a huge demand for that. Even if it's a well-deserved third go, it feels to me like this on the other promotion will go a different direction. Again, it's hard to predict these. So much can happen. Izzy goes up to heavyweight. He goes up to light heavy. Like, who knows? Let's just get the guy back in there whenever he's ready. Great video there of his kids waiting for him. The trunk, it opens. Beautiful stuff. And it seems like he's at peace. He's handled the loss with a lot of class. I mean, let's not worry about what can happen in 4 fights. I can't help but think Whittaker matches up well against the likes of Glover, Yan, Yuri. Do you think that the size gap is too big? I personally think so. Maybe he's, going to say something, otherwise, but I think it is. New subscriber, longtime listener. Thanks for all you do and keep up the great work. Thank you, my friend. Marhaba, Ariel. Wow, from Ahmad. Salam alaikum, my brother. There have been a lot of discussions about the middleweight Mount Rushmore, but how about a Mount Rushmore for these following divisions? Lightweight, welterweight, heavyweight. Hopefully it's not a long question. I mean, it's a lot to think of. On the spot, geez Louise. Lightweight, you got to go BJ Penn. You got to go Khabib. I'm blanking. BJ. Frankie. Welterweight's pretty easy. George, Kamaru, Tyron Woodley, Matt Hughes. Heavyweight. Is this UFC or is this MMA? I'm thinking you're saying heavy. If it's MMA, oh my. Fedor, Stipe, DC, Couture. I'm missing one lightweight. Jens Pulver. But I mean, again, if it's all time, then it opens us up to a whole bunch of other guys. Takanori Gomi. Is 185 the weakest male division in the sport, or does it just seem weaker because of Izzy's dominance? The latter. It's not weak at all. It's just when you have a dominant champ, it's like 170. Usman has lapped the competition, so it looks like everyone's weak, when in fact, it's the champ who's the man. There's also a distinct lack of submission artists in the division, sure, but I mean, that's cyclical. There was once a time when Damian Maya and Talis Ladies were there. Alec, top of the morning, Lord Ariel. Now on Monday's show, Rick was talking about the 92nd annual Bengal bouts, to which you said you had no interest in competing in. I could only imagine it was because you didn't have a proper opponent. So might I suggest a friendly exhibition for charity between you and the Schmo would be a draw and sway you into competing, the nose versus glasses who wins? I mean, really, we're still talking about this? We're still talking about this all this time later. No, I have no interest in competing against the Schmo or anyone else. We have squashed that. He was talking smack after I helped him out and I gave him some pointers that he then took as, I can't even believe we're going over this again, as an insult. I still don't understand why. Then he goes online and starts calling me out and starts trying to, I don't know, create some sort of thing with us. Then I see him in person and all that went away. So 10-7 Helwani. Hello, Ariel. Expanding from your point that Izzy is a draw and just hasn't had that nemesis to elevate him as Usman had with Colby and Jorge. Do you think Alex Pereira's entrance to the UFC presents that opportunity. I know he just debuted, needs a few more fights, and there are concerns about his grappling skills, but given their history, a title fight between him and Izzy would be, was it him and Izzy? Yeah, would be massive. Should the UFC promote him as they do with Patty and Shemaev? I mean, it's early days, but yes, that could be massive. Also, what's the verdict with Casey O'Neill? Will she be immortalized? Yes, she's going to be immortalized for doing what she did. It will go up on the wall. Thank you for the great show. So they're checking in. This is the update. They're in the building. And so let's say they come in, guys, at like 3:15. I'm just breaking the fourth wall here.
Sure.
So we'll go 30 minutes with Tim, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just just keep that time. Just not. It's obviously not going to happen at 3 because they're just walking in. But whenever they're ready, I could pivot. Do you get what I'm saying?
I will let you know.
Just give me the heads up. And please make sure that GC doesn't lose his SHIT when Izzy walks in the building. We're trying to be professionals here, okay? A little decorum. What was that?
I think that's what the holdup is.
Okay, the decorum. Okay. Matt in Montreal, where does Whittaker go from here? Addressed it. He'll take some time off. He'll fight one of the top guys. He'll be fine. Ollie, hey Ariel, I like your name. I'm sending you a Fremantle Football Club AFL jersey in majestic purple and white with a number 11 on the back, symbolizing the amount of MMA Journalist of the Year awards you have won. Could have been 12. Thank you. Question 1. How long till a UFC pay-per-view takes the record off boxing with 4.6 million buys? Oh my. I don't see any insight. Is there a hypothetical card now that you think would pull those numbers? No. That's just absurd. That's Pacquiao and Mayweather. I don't see anything. Question 2. 1987 Mike Tyson versus present Tyson Fury. Oh my. 1987 Mike Tyson versus present Tyson Fury. Golly. That is a crazy fight. I'm going Tyson to the body. Tyson with the uppercuts, just like in Punch-Out. I understand, yes, they're both Tyson. I'm going Mike. I'm going with Iron Mike. Great question, though. Hey, Ariel, from Nim, my good friend. Hope Mrs. H is recovering well. It's going well. Gnarly incision there, but it's going well. I can imagine it's stressful for you and the little ones. Thank you. So I have 2 unrelated questions. How is your work-life balance? I can't quite put my finger on if it's okay, but feels like a lot alongside being a husband and father of 3. Thank you for asking. It's fine. I love what I do. I love that every day presents something different. I'm definitely happy. Wasn't before. So I can't complain. Am I going to lie and say that it's stress-free? No. The biggest stress in my life is really booking the show. And I don't say that because I hate it. It's just because, there's all these elements. You got to get these guys on the show in studio, get interesting guests. You have people saying like, oh, this lineup sucks. Or, oh, I don't want to hear from this person. That type of stuff is stressful. But the rest is fine. I feel like I do a pretty good job. It feels like my Friday night is Wednesday night. Like when I'm done the Wednesday show, I can breathe a little bit. But overall, it's good. Really loving not traveling a lot. Can I just say that? That presents a much, much better work-life balance. The travel. I really don't enjoy it. Number 2, I don't know if anyone has made a deal over the fact that even Whittaker's coach said before the final round to Whittaker, you're down on points. So why was Rob so sure that he had done enough? That's a good question. I don't know. I will ask him that. But yeah, I thought his corner was very honest with him, which is a great job. Hi, Ariel. In a recent interview with Mark Ramundi, Kayla Harrison mentioned moving down to 135 could be an option. Can I be honest about that one? I think she was trolling Mark on that one. Kayla Harrison ain't fighting at 135. Have you guys lost your mind? She ain't fighting at 135. With this in mind, if you consider the combination of legacy and money, which promotion? Listen, it's down to Bellator and PFL. I don't know why you guys don't believe me on this. It's down to Bellator and PFL, and Bellator is making a push. And I think that there are intriguing options there. And I think that, listen, I think PFL, if I'm being honest, I think they signed their ESPN deal and took their foot off the gas. I think their foot was on the gas because they thought they needed Kayla to get that deal over the line. I think that deal is done and they've taken their foot off the gas. Kayla Harrison is the face of PFL. Kayla Harrison made the PFL into what it is today, must-see TV. And, she's a franchise player. And I think they took their foot off the gas. That's my honest assessment. They got what they wanted. They got the TV deal. And look, I'm not begrudging them, but that was the most important thing. It's down to those two. Nothing would surprise me at this point. Happy birthday, Walter. Thank you. Hey, Ariel, in your opinion, who cracks the top 5 middleweights first, Khamzat or Imavov? I say Khamzat. Oh, middleweights. Oh, wow. I don't think we can ignore Fernand's track record of fast. I mean, I think Nasruddin, because Khamzat not fighting at 185 anytime soon. He's going to fight Burns, and then he's going to fight for the belt if he wins that. Thoughts on Cody Rhodes leaving AEW and potentially joining WWE? Spoke of that. Crazy. Mind blown. But it's a thing. It definitely is. Ariel Ladd, longtime fan of your work. Bit of a silly, fun question, but seeing as Mike Perry is back in action this weekend at BKFC, Knucklemania, Chad Mendez as well, it got me thinking about him having his girlfriend in his corner for a couple fights. If a UFC fighter asked you to be a member of their corner, would you accept their offer? I don't know. Imagine the walkout and ring announcement with Helwani behind the cage. I don't think they would let me, if I'm being honest. Shout out to MMA Pins. I really don't think they would let me. Maybe I'm wrong. That would be crazy. I wouldn't want to do that. First of all, it would be a waste of a cornerman. And I know there have been some crazy people who have done that, who certainly, didn't warrant being there. But I don't know. That's not me. I'm not trying to be a fighter. I'm not trying to be a coach. I'm not trying to get that. It would be incredible. It would be fun for like a regional fight or something, a great experience. But I would hate to take that position away from someone else. But yeah, I mean, imagine if DC asked me to walk out with them. I would go, dun, 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 and we'd do the thing, and we'd run together. I would trip. It would be amazing. B-Dod, 10. What is going on with Paulo Costa right now after saying Vittoria or no one? Not sure. That's a weird one. Hey, Ariel, who do you think wins next week? Josh Taylor, Catterall, undisputed junior welterweight fight. Taylor. And do you think Taylor has what it takes to move up and fight Crawford? Sure. He's great. Wasn't he with Tyson Fury recently? Also, do you think Bam Bam Tuivasa will ever become a UFC champion? Sure. Although he still hasn't responded to my WhatsApp message. It still hasn't been seen. It's not even blue yet. What is he doing? What kind of a bender is this guy on? We'll address that later. What's the holdup with Diaz Poirier? Diaz's contract, still nothing moving. I suspect they'll re-sign, and maybe we see him in the summer. But listen, when the UFC wants to get something done, they get it done. Until they need to get something done, they don't get it done. And right now, they don't need to get it done because they've got their cards filled up. I suspect come the summer, they'll get it done. I'm looking for shorter ones here. I just wanted to shout out Derek Brunson's team for throwing in the towel. Normalize the towel. Respect. Why not? What's up, Ariel? Just want to first off thank you for always giving us great content. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the show today. I'm a carpenter and I build movie sets, mostly for Disney Marvel. So if you ever want some behind the scenes pics of sets, I got you. Cool. What about Suicide Squad? I'm hoping to one day find out what went down in Houston. I want the story of you being Thug Nose. Hell, I even paid money to subscribe to hopefully one day hear your story. You're the effing man. I appreciate all you do. P.S. I worked on Suicide Squad and I have great pics. What the hell? He actually says Suicide Squad here. That is nuts.
How long ago was the question posted?
5 hours, but it says edited 50 minutes ago. So there you go. Maybe I shouldn't have been so excited. Very nice of him, though. One day I'll share Houston. Longtime listener, first time writing into a question. Love your content. Do you think Derek Brunson was hit with something that dazed him in the second round? I think he did get tired, and I think Cannonier hits really hard. What's one aspect of wrestling that you wish the UFC would implement that they haven't already? P.S. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you. Letting people be themselves, characters. Look at that guy who was just in here. He's a character. He's able to branch out despite the restrictions. That's a big thing. So just let them be themselves. Another question about Diaz Poirier. P.S. Love your interviews with Oakley, Steve-O, Kendra Luss. Thank you. It would be cool if you got Charlize Theron, who's a big UFC fan. That would be a tough one. Tomorrow's is going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. You're the best. It's heard rumblings of Nick Maximov having a quick turnaround. Yeah, I heard that too, but I don't know against who. Any update on Michael Johnson? None. Sorry. Hope you're well, Ariel. Work in local TV as a news producer, but over the last few years, I've been drained from everything going on, only to find my passion lies with MMA. Starting a podcast, respect. How do I navigate the minefield to stay driven for the remainder of my contract? You just gotta, if you have a passion, if you see an end goal, a vision, keep at it. Just keep at it, my man. Reach out to people. Nothing more exciting than having like a goal and a dream and something that really gets you motivated. So keep at it. 2022 gave me hope that the MMA landscape would have its 1996 WCW or 2019 AEW moments. With Izzy resigning, is it now safe to say our dream for a robust alternative will again be delayed? That was never going to happen. And I told you there's a very good chance they would all resign. I told you that. Do you think you and others were too hard on Ronda Rousey and underestimated how hard she took her 2 losses? How are we hard on her? I find that the MMA media is actually media. Don't confuse the media and the fans. Don't confuse the media and the toxic fans on social media. The media was never unfair. The legit media, the MMA media, never unfair to Ronda Rousey. You lost the fight. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. No one thinks less of you. No one thinks less of Izzy because he lost to Jan. No one thinks less of Whittaker because he lost to Izzy. No one thinks less of Brunson because he lost a fight. That's it. Now, I understand there's a lot that goes into it, but no one said that she was and never was. No one said that she was a joke. No one said, the problem is a lot of people confuse the internet for the media, and we're not the same. Now, a lot of us work in the media, on the internet, but don't confuse like the toxic fans for the media. You can't do that. It's not right. Take out your crystal ball and predict who headlines International Fight Week. Golly. Tough. I don't think Conor. Usman Edwards? Maybe. Izzy. What do you remember about the day your first child was born? Holy smokes. I remember a lot. It was a Monday. I remember they were putting the big pointy thing at the top of the Freedom Tower, and I was looking at it on TV. It was on CNN, and it was 1776 feet. I remember that we got to the hospital in the morning, and they said that it was too early, so we went to like a Greek diner to have breakfast, and my wife was very uncomfortable. I had an omelet, and it was very dry. I remember that my son was born in the early afternoon and my sister was there. And when I went outside to tell her that I was a father of a son, I started crying because I didn't know the sex. We never knew the sex for any of our kids beforehand. I also remember that night the Knicks played the Heat in the playoffs and Amari Stoudemire broke the glass in the locker room or in the hallway in the locker room and cut his hand. And then was out. Do you guys remember that? That was crazy. So I remember all those things, and I'll never forget it. And I remember the following week, and I remember watching a Bellator event on the Friday night. So my son was born April 30th, so it was like now early May, and it was beautiful outside. We were living in Brooklyn, and the windows were open. I was watching Bellator on a Friday, I think on Spike it was, and my son was sleeping in the bassinet, and I was folding laundry. And I remember just thinking like, this is the dream. I am so happy and living the dream. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm living in Brooklyn. We just had a baby boy, and I'm watching MMA and I'm folding laundry. It was amazing. I remember Derrick Rose tore his ACL like 2 days before he was born, and the last movie we watched was the Bob Marley documentary with the great line that I always like to reference when he says, when the interviewer asks him about possessions, how many possessions? Are you a rich man? And he goes, what does rich mean? Is it the possessions that you have? Does that make you a rich man? And then he said, yeah, something like that. And then Bob said, like, possessions don't make you rich. Life makes you rich. And I am rich, or something like that. Do you guys remember that? It was great. Anyone remember that? Any news on Darren Till? No. Can you get Patty the Batty on? I would love to, but Maybe. Not up to me. Who are some of your favorite reporters, journalists outside of MMA? Oh, man, that is a tough one. Golly. That is a really tough one. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Stephen Brunn is my favorite sports journalist ever. He's Canadian. I just love him. I love Lebitard. Chris Herring does a great job. Mannix does a great job with the NBA and a little bit of boxing. Pablo Torre I love. Mina Kimes I love. I love a lot of the Bills guys. I mentioned Matt Perino, who does Bills stuff back in the day. He did UFC back in the day. John Pollock and Wei Ting I love in wrestling. There's a lot of people. Alan Hahn I think is great. Jim Rome is the man. Ryan Russillo does a great job. I'm looking at some of my podcasts here. Oh, Jeff Marek is the man. Elliot Friedman is tremendous. Hockey reporter for Sportsnet. So those are some of the names that come to mind. Okay, just a couple more here. What would your song track be to walk out to the octagon if you were an Ultimate Fighter? It would definitely be Hit 'Em Up. Also, hey Frank. Hello. Will you do a Shui Vasa on air? I guess, but I feel like a lot of people have done that, and like, what am I? One thing I've always loved about sports is how it brings people together. I want to ask you, as a Jewish person, who's your favorite Jewish sports person? Got to be Sandy Koufax, right? He sat out the World Series for Yom Kippur. Forgive my ignorance, but I thought you were banned from UFC press conferences. Hell no. Who told you that? Lies. Clickbait. What do you think about Michael Chandler's negative comments about the main events? I didn't see him. Happy birthday to Walter and good afternoon, Ariel. With the inclusion of 2 guests in studio, I have to ask, why do you not have GC and New York Rick in studio? It's cooler back there. I like it better. I don't know. I just like it. Hey, we do have an update on someone who I said to New York Rick who didn't want to come on the show. Now is coming on the show. That'll be on Monday, so stay tuned. Apropos of your crushing headaches, are you allergic to pineapple? Maybe you have a food allergy that is manifested later in life. Wow, that's a great question. I do have a little bit of pineapple before the show. Weird, but I don't think so. That is a great question, though. I should look into it. As a Knicks fan, I don't recall you riding the Linsanity trade. Of course I was. Are you kidding? I was in Nebraska when he hit that shot over the Raptors. I was freaking out. It was amazing. Yes, actually, my wife was pregnant. Laker game. I remember staying at home on a Friday night to watch it and not go to the game with my friend Kevin Wang because she was very pregnant at the time. So yes, and I remember landing in Japan for UFC 144, and that was when they played the Heat in that game where it all kind of came crashing down. So yeah, man, it was amazing. I actually bought a Lynn jersey for my son when he was born later that year, 2012. And I was so excited that my son was wearing a Knicks jersey. I took a picture as he was wearing it. He was literally like 5 days old, and my wife was breastfeeding him. And I was like, oh, let me take a picture. He's wearing the jersey. I'm like, that's my son. He's wearing a jersey. And I didn't realize that she was exposed. And I sent it to all my friends. And they're like, do you realize? No, I didn't. She didn't really care, but I was very embarrassed. I was so fixated on the jersey that I didn't realize that she was exposed. Do you understand how big of an error that was on my part? It was a big error. Okay, last one. Namaste, Ariel. Oh, this is too long. Which promotion do you think will grow the most in the next 5 years? Bellator, PFL 1, EFC, or WFL? Dang. I'll say Bellator is still around. If all fighters were fair game, regardless of promotion, what do you think is the biggest women's MMA fight to make right now? If it was the headline of UFC 272, how many pay-per-views do you think it would do? The biggest women's fight that you can make right this second? Man, I would have said Valentina versus Amanda, but no more. Then you could say Amanda versus Kayla, but not right now. I mean, I guess the biggest that you can make right now is probably Amanda versus Juliana just for the story, but I think Kayla versus Chris is interesting. I don't know if it's as big because it's on the UFC platform, but it's funny because women's MMA has never been better, but I don't know if there's that one big money fight right now. Rose versus Valentina. I really want to see Kayla versus Chris. That's the fight that I'm most interested in. I really want to see that. I think we'll get a lot of questions answered about both of them. Obviously, Chris has done enough and has accomplished enough, but with Kayla, it would be fascinating. All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in questions. What a fun day. Thanks to the team in the back.